Hello, hello. I am going to just jump right into what we're going to chat about today and really think of this chat as like a pulling back the veil and shining a light on what could be going on with your bloating. And basically, what's in my mind is like bloating blind spots. I felt like I had to make a video on this for you because, well, one, if we're just meeting for the first time, my name's Noelle, and on paper, I'm a clinical nutritionist, I'm a holistic gut specialist, and I worked one-on-one with people for the past 4 years, focusing almost entirely on digestive and gut-based issues. But before that, I struggled with my own crazy gut issues. I mean, there was a point where I never thought that I would ever get over them. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you may be there and you're like, I've literally tried everything. But one of the biggest, I think, things that affected my mental health and why I want to make this video was what I experienced as just chronic bloating that I felt would not go away no matter what I did. And it's like the more I learned and read, it seemed like the more confused I was. And at one point, I had like convinced myself, I felt that like anything beyond four foods that I would eat would make me bloated and sick. And it really, when I say mental health, it affected my food relationship, it affected everything. And so now being on the other side of it, it's like everything's clear when you're on the other side of it. And looking back, I'm like, man, nobody was really talking about these things that I'm going to share today when I was searching for what the cause could be. And so in today's chat, next 45 minutes, hour, we'll see. I tend to go deep. So we're not going to miss anything. But what I'm going to talk about is my experience with bloating, like what I was diagnosed with, what happened, and how I got over it. I'm going to bring up a case study of a client who resolved her bloating in a matter of 2 months after struggling for like 2 years. And I'm going to cover, I think this is like the main nugget, are the blind spots, the things that I see with real life people that tend to be the missing pieces that are contributing to the bloat. What you may be used to are videos or posts and things about food. And we're definitely going to talk about food. And you're probably going to be surprised by some of the food recs that I give. But I think that is where we can kind of drive ourselves insane, where the focus is mainly always on food. And there's other pieces to the bloating puzzle that when you know those, okay, you can be off to the races and fix this thing. So let's just get started. Little bit of background, I'm going to kind of condense it so that you know where I'm coming from. I developed really bad digestive issues around 15 and a half, 16. They got so bad that I ended up leaving school for 2 years because they just took over my whole body, my mental health, everything. I couldn't digest foods anymore. My diagnoses, at one point, I had SIBO. At one point, I was diagnosed with IBS-C. At one point, it's like, oh, you're just constipated. At one point, it's you have gastroparesis, which is a chronic condition. And all these diagnoses, right? And a bunch of wonderful recommendations from doctors. And I say wonderful from their toolkit, right? Like what they know to recommend. Try this medication. Go on Miralax. Try to eat healthier. Make sure you're eating fiber. And none of that stuff was doing anything. It just wasn't doing anything, especially the medications. There's always some kind of side effect. Even after I got rid of the SIBO, and I have whole videos on SIBO, I won't go into that today, but that was a big part of the bloating for a while. But even after I got rid of that, I was still getting bloated. So there I was eating like 5 different foods that weren't were not unhealthy. They were like healthy bananas. I was eating almond milk, rice cereal. Nothing crazy. And I was taking fiber supplement. I was taking Miralax. I was working out, doing cardio. I don't know how, because I didn't have much calories or energy, but I was just like, maybe that'll help move things down. Like maybe that will just like help the bloat. And I was also really constipated. Like I couldn't go. And I was drinking a ton of water. And like my cheats or my treats at the time were like Halo Top ice cream and like the healthy version of things. And like my inner dialogue was, yes, I've had a rough past with food. I had a history of eating disorder, but now like I'm really health conscious. All these other people around me are eating way worse than me. I am on top of things. How am I still bloated? And that also led me down the rabbit hole. And I'm saying this so you can check in your mind, like if you've been there. It's like, oh, it's gluten. Gluten is the devil. Gluten's causing my bloating. Oh, it's dairy. Pull out dairy. Dairy's causing the bloating. Oh, maybe it's nightshades. Maybe it's food sensitivity. So food sensitivity test. Ooh, this is really big. Maybe I need a food sensitivity test. And let me just pause and say, for some people, removing gluten, removing dairy, doing food sensitivity tests, they find their answer, they feel better. Amazing. When I teach, I'm never saying one way is wrong and one way is better. I'm really shining a light on just the objectives to help you come to your own understanding so that you can heal this thing. Yeah, so, but anyways, if you did find your answer, probably wouldn't be watching this, but I felt like I had tried everything. And actually, I should go back and say my diet at the time, at the worst of my bloating, I got to that point of only eating 4 foods and I'm like, forget it. So I started bringing more foods back in and bringing like the healthiest things I could bring back in. It's like, okay, I'm going to bring in greens. I'm going to eat salads. I'm going to make sure I'm getting enough fiber. I'm drinking smoothies and I'm putting a bunch of stuff in there, snacking on hummus and carrots and like doing all that. And again, I was still feeling bloated. And I just think back, I went from like being a fashionista, which if you follow me on Instagram, you know that in a different life, or maybe this lifetime, I am a fashion blogger. Like I love fashion so much because I think it's just such a wonderful way that we can express ourselves as women. And when I entered this bloating era, I like lost all interest in putting myself together because I'm like, I feel like crap. Not only do I not want to look bloated in clothes, but I just feel like crap. Okay. You're like, okay, tell us what you did. So, the real breakthrough happens when I got to the natural side. I was basically collecting different little nuggets from different practitioners, but one practitioner in particular shined a light on, and hear this so loud. I was describing this bloating and I'm like, how do I fix the bloating? How do I fix the bloating? The bloating. What do you have for the bloating? And she starts talking about the digestive system, like my whole digestive system and digestion and like how different foods digest. And I'm kind of getting a little frustrated because I'm like, I'm already healthy. I'm healthy. You don't need to give me a lecture. I know what foods are healthy. And just like, what do I need to do for the bloating? I was not being very wise and I was feeling very desperate. And so I was like deaf to some of the wisdom that she was sharing with me right away. But after a while, you get desperate enough where you're just like surrender. You're like, okay, I'll do whatever. I got to that point with her, and the aha moment was her explaining to me, hear this, that bloating that is chronic, that is not going away with you eating healthy, working out, seeing doctors, whether you have IBS or IBD, or you don't have a condition at all, you're just like, I got gut issues. Bloating is a symptom. It's a symptom of your digestion and gut health being off. So let that sink in. Your digestion and your gut health. If your digestion, meaning how food, when you eat, how it moves through your system the way it should and leaves, and your gut health, your microbiome, if that's healthy, you don't get bloated, you don't have stomach cramps, you don't have irregularity, and then your gut health is great, your mind is clear, all that stuff. But if you have bloating, chronic bloating, something in the digestive system and the way you're breaking down food, something is off. Otherwise, you wouldn't experience bloating. And why this was so big to me was because, and why it's so big to so many of my clients when we work one-on-one or if they're in gut rehab or something, it's like this light bulb. Wait a minute. I never really thought about my whole, like my digestive system as like a system. I'm just thinking of the bloating, the bloating, the bloating. It's like very narrow. And so we obsess over food. We obsess over food. And so what I learned specifically with my bloating and then how I overcame it was first of all, healthy foods, eating healthy foods like I thought I was eating. Like, yes, that could be true. I was eating foods that were healthy, but in order to heal your digestion, your gut, and debloat, you need foods that are digestible. So this practitioner goes, yes, you're eating salads. Yes, you're eating chicken breast, and then you're having salad on the side. You're having broccoli on the side. But can you break that stuff down? I had never thought to ask that. I'm just like, it's healthy. I put it in. Right? So biggest breakthrough was for us healthy girls, guys, the foods that we're eating, we need to look beyond, like, are they healthy, to can we even digest them? Are they too hard to break down? So a lot of healthy foods, mainly plant foods, can be tough to break down when our gut is all off. So that was one breakthrough for me. So what I did from that is I changed my diet away from a very plant-centric, lots of fiber, to easy to digest. And I'll go into more detail on that, but that was a big breakthrough. And then the second main breakthrough was understanding that, oh, the other things that are contributing to my bloating is the fact that, you know what, I think now I'm looking over at my notes, now would be a good time to just list out the different pieces, the different contributors to bloating, which are really just different pieces of your digestion that you might be missing, that people aren't really talking about. So for me, my diet was off, and I needed to eat more digestible. And then also I was constipated. So if you're constipated, doesn't matter what you eat, you're going to get bloated because you're not emptying, called backup bloat. I also had some lingering, like gut bacteria issues. So like dysbiosis, microbiome, that word, that was still off. So think foods were fermenting. My motility, which just means how fast food was like moving through my system, was really slow. So food's moving through slowly, things are going to ferment gas. Basically, what I'm sharing, it's like there were so many different things that were just creating a perfect setup to be bloated. Because my system, my digestive system was off. But don't worry, it's like if your digestive system is off, and so many of ours are, you can reboot, or what I call rehab your gut. Just the world we live in and things we go through affect our bodies and our systems. And in my case, it was disordered eating for years that just threw everything off. For some, it's dieting. For some, it's antibiotics. For some, it's chronic stress. For some, it's just they never knew how to eat for their body and their gut's just like, ugh. You can rehab your gut. But yeah, so after changing my diet and after solving and fixing these underlying issues that nobody had talked about, it was always about fiber. It was always about, um, yeah, more fiber and take a laxative. And like that was pretty much it. But when I actually, the whole healing at the root thing, I healed those underlying issues, the bloating, pretty quickly, almost like funny quick went down. I mean, I remember the first week of changing my diet to something that my body could digest, which was hard for me mentally because I was probably a little bit obsessive still at that point, like eating healthy. And so not eating greens and veggies and stuff was a little scary. Boom, bloating went down. So that encouraged me to keep going and do the other things. But yeah, in a week, my bloating was down. And then it took me about 2 or 3 months of just like doing that gut reboot and getting my digestive up and running again, where the chronic bloating was gone. Why? Because my digestive system and my gut health was rebalanced. I see this happen all the time, like all the time. And yes, I'm going to talk about that client, the case study, but let's go into those 7 pieces, blind spots that you may or may not know about. So let me bring this up because I will lose track. Okay, so one that I mentioned is constipation. So I think a lot of us have been trained to think about symptoms as very separate. Like your bloating is separate from the constipation. Or like the GERD, if you have acid reflux, is separate from your bloating, and you need to do something different for each of them. I hope if you take anything away from this, you actually get the aha and the freedom that comes with that aha of knowing, no, you don't have to play whack-a-mole with all these different symptoms. When we treat our body as the whole system it is, and we just address the whole system, everything will rebalance. And we're going to talk about that later, but just, you don't have to play whack-a-mole. But constipation. So if you do not have a complete bowel movement every single day, once or twice a day, then what is happening is, as sexy as it sounds, old poop is living in your body, and it was never designed to sit in your body for longer than it was supposed to. It's not normal. It's not normal to go every other day. So get that out of your mind. We're designed to go every day, once or twice a day, even 3 times a day. And they should look like brown bananas. They should be complete. You should feel relieved every single time. If that's not happening, think about it. Just that stuff is still in your body. You eat, that stuff should have been gone. It creates a perfect storm for gas formation and to feel like you have a pooch. So you could be changing your diet till the cows come home. And if you're not going every day, you're going to be like, what is happening? It's because in order to resolve the bloating, we have to resolve the constipation. You see? So they're kind of one and the same, bloating, constipation. So with me and with my clients, you might be thinking, okay, what do I need to do then with if it's not my diet? How do I fix the constipation? So wise, and this is why I carry it on in my practice now. One of the first things that you want to do is If you know you're constipated, go ahead after this video, look up the Bristol stool chart, or maybe we'll link it below this video. You want to be a type 3 or 4. That's how you know it's normal, and you should go twice a day and it should feel complete. Oof, totally lost my Victoria. Victoria's on the call right now. Lost my train of thought about the constipation. Oh, the first thing that we would do. So I'm like, Victoria, read my mind. Save me. Anybody doesn't know, Victoria is like the behind the scenes extraordinaire who makes everything work, client relations. If you've worked with us privately, you know that she like she's the heart and soul behind Melanie. So yeah. And also the organization brain, because clearly that's not me. Yeah, so one of the first things we want to do is start eating foods. If you're looking at your diet and you're like, oh, I eat salads and I eat veggies with each meal and stuff. I'm not saying veggies are bad, but if you're bloated and you're constipated, something's not working. So we actually want to try to eat food like meals that are lower in plant food, so more protein and carb focused. Or if you must have your veggies, cook them really well. And at the same time, you want to bring in some sort of digestive support, aka supplements, to help you break down your food better and support motility and getting things moving. So in the case of like myself, a big helper in the beginning was getting on a magnesium supplement at night, because magnesium, different forms, basically help to relax your muscles. It draws a little bit of water. The right form can draw a little bit of water into your colon, which just supports you having a natural bowel movement in the morning, on top of you eating foods that are easier to digest for a while and adding the digestive support. So you see how there's multiple things. It doesn't have to be difficult, but we're addressing the whole system. That's our first step. Okay, constipation, check. Motility issues. Motility, just think of your digestive tract has a movement to it. And I'm doing this because it's like a tube and it like moves, or it should move. And if where our motility is moving slower, this is typically what I see a lot. And how we know is just someone's personal history, their symptoms. If food moves through too slow, then that sets up the perfect situation for bacteria and stuff to feast on the food, gas, bloating, and just stuff staying in your system longer and leading to constipation. And why would motility issues happen? So, you know how you hear about the gut-brain connection? So, this is a big place where that play comes in. I'm going to use a real life example with me. I mentioned I got diagnosed with gastroparesis, which just means paralyzed stomach. It means that there's no movement happening. Years prior, I had an eating disorder. And because of that, I stressed out my body and my inside so much. And I basically trained my body to not get food regularly. So your body's really wise. If it doesn't get what it needs, it's not going to waste energy and like keep doing the thing. So my system slowed the heck down. It wasn't trying to betray me. It just goes, oh, you're not going to eat? Cool. We're not going to move stuff through. I see this a lot with women who like fast a lot during the day, or they have like high stress jobs and they kind of just snack and then they eat a big meal at night. That trains your motility to be off for some women. So yeah, if your motility is slow, that can mean that when your sister over here is eating a salad and it's moving right through, because your motility is slow, yours is moving through slowly and you feel like gas and bloating and stuff. So That's one issue. A third one, bacterial issues. So you might have heard this word dysbiosis. This is a big one. Yes, with bloating, with IBS. If you have IBS, or you feel like you have IBS, or you feel like, man, my diet's perfect. Like I eat so well. But I just get gas. Like you get gas bloated. You don't have to have full-blown SIBO or some bacterial infection that will show up on like a lab test by your primary care doctor to have an imbalance of good and bad bacteria in your gut that's basically causing you to get bloated from foods you didn't used to get bloated from. So if you've ever been on antibiotics, that can throw off your gut. And it can happen later. So you're like, I've been on antibiotics for a year. So that can change your gut microbiome. And now, boom, you have dysbiosis. Trying to think of another reason. It's like, maybe you changed your diet. Like maybe, like many of us, like you've had a past, like whatever that was. Maybe, you really, you had a lifestyle change or something. Before you would just eat like, sugars and processed food and all that stuff. Then you made a healthy change and you're like, yay, maybe you lost some weight or something like that. You just feel better, but now you have these gut issues. So what you used to feed your body and what was in your gut set the tone. And so that could be lingering over. There's many different reasons. Okay. Another reason is stress. And I hated this like topic when I was struggling with gut issues because it felt so physical to me. And it kind of felt like there's no way I'm going to be less stressed until I fix my gut issues. And I hear you. So I'm not telling you to de-stress. What I want to do though is shine a light on like you healing your bloating or gut issues will happen easier and with less distress when you approach it from a calm, expecting place. Like you expect that you're going to heal, you expect that you're going to get better, and you do your best to stay in a positive mindset. That will help your system be less stressed. It will help you feel less stressed while you heal. But in terms of how it contributes to bloating, it's more like this. It's like I see a lot of women whose lives full, busy, but even if they're not psychologically stressed, like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed, but they're go, 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 go. And they are last. Like their self-care is last. It's just, what do I need to do to get through? If that's what's happening, and you're dealing with this, I'm not going to say, oh, hey, yeah, it's because you have a full life and that's why you're bloated. But more so just a reminder that like your body, our bodies, in order to function, just have certain needs. And so if those needs are put last, always, most of the time, like when you eat, when you sleep, how fast you eat, if you're just doing a granola bar or a Quest bar for lunch or something, like that will affect your system. Not because trying to be delicate, but it's trying to remind you, girl, your body is the most important thing. You are the most important thing. And so this is a big one. This is a big one just to look up. Another thing is just eat what I led with my story, eating foods we can't digest. This is the biggest one that I see that maybe didn't cause the chronic bloating that you're having, right? I want to be so clear when I'm listing these 7, I'm not saying, hey, one of these caused it. I'm shining a light on what's happening. Eating healthy probably didn't cause your bloating, but thinking in terms of what may be in the way of you debloating and healing your gut, think of it like this. When your gut is bloated, when you are bloated, always, almost always, or you feel like it's just rocking on eggshells, you may bloat, maybe not. You can also think of it like your gut is stressed out and your gut is probably operating on the weaker side. If your gut was feeling real strong, you would be digesting, things would be moving, and you'd be good. But you can think of your gut when you're getting bloated. It's like kind of weak and kind of stressed. So then think of a salad. Like, I'm not going to name chains. We love those chains, but like, think of your trendy chain salad and it has all the things, all the healthy things in it. You throw all the things in there. You're like, I'm going to feed my microbiome and eat super healthy. And then you eat that salad and you're like, you're 4, maybe 6 months pregnant. What's happening? Well, picture a piece of broccoli. Just picture it. First is like rice. And your gut, remember, is the soft pink tube. A soft pink tube, that's what it is. Putting a broccoli down there, that requires a lot more power to break down than like rice. Why? I'm not picking on broccoli. I love broccoli, but like it has a lot of fibers. And here's the thing, you need to hear this out loud if you're a healthy girl, healthy girly. Fibers in plants, when our gut is healthy, for some of us, they're a superfood and they just help things feel even better. But when your gut is out of balance, they can be too much for our system. And our system goes, we can't break this stuff down. And so that fiber, bacteria is feeding on the fiber, we're getting gassy and bloated. Fiber slows down motility, which makes things move even slower. And it kind of creates this loop of like slow motility, fermenting things, and now I'm gassy and bloated and constipated. So I teach the difference between like healing foods and healthy foods. Every body is different. So if you're watching, it's like, I can eat broccoli, no problem. Great. For some people, it's chickpeas. For some people, it's kale, but in this case study I'm about to share with you, a client example, I'll show you the nuance of this. With me, again, I told you I was eating like snacking on hummus and carrots. Nothing wrong, nothing unhealthy about those foods, but it was unhealthy for me at the time because I could not break down those carrots. Now, after rebooting my gut, what I call rehabbing my gut, because my digestion's back up and running, I learned my threshold on like how much veggies I can eat and my system stay running smoothly, and that's great. But at the time, too much. So yeah, eating foods that you can't digest is a big one. Oh, I'm gonna pause and just say this. It's like, this is an opportunity. If you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I can't believe I eat so healthy and this might be the problem. I found that my gut issues were actually the biggest, like the door opener, the opportunity for me to finally and actually learn what foods actually work for my body. So you can choose to see this as like, oh my God, or you can see it as, oh, I had no idea. And you could see this as your opportunity to understand yourself and find out what foods work for you. And I think what so many of us women crave is just like, and why we get obsessed with researching diet and foods, because we want to know what's going to work for us. We want to know what's going to work for us. And the beautiful part of like functional nutrition, functional healing, root cause is it's unique to the individual. And it asks you to step into the driver's seat and go, oh, I see. I get to learn through this healing process what my body's been asking for, what I need. So that is definitely a huge like mindset shift that you can take right now. Okay. Two more to go, and then we're going to case study. So random eating. Victoria reminded me to put this in here because, oh my gosh, I'm going to say something and I hope you never forget it. Regular eating equals regular digestion. Random eating equals random digestion. So this plays into the whole stress piece and the self-care piece. But if we're just so hyper focused on food, like what am I eating? And that we become blind to all the other things. And know this, like our body was not designed to eat all day. I'm not talking about like how to hit your protein goals or how to do any of that stuff. That's separate. I'm talking about what our bodies were designed to do. And our bodies were designed to eat food, digest food, have time to digest, and space, and then eat again. But because of modern life, it conditioned me to think that like I never thought about meal timing or that it mattered how often I ate. In fact, during my fit girl era, which was right before my gut issue breakdown, my gut health breakdown, I was eating like 6, 7 times a day. Just like, how can I get in the protein and the macros? And what I didn't know I was doing was that I gave my digestive no time to do what it was supposed to do. But for some people, it's not, or maybe for you, it's not even like eating all the time, but it's you sometimes some days you eat breakfast and then you go all day, you just have coffees and then you eat dinner. And then some days you're just snacking all day. And then some days you have a granola bar for breakfast, then you have a salad, and then you have a super late dinner. You see what I'm saying? All this sporadicness. And that will set you up then to have sporadic digestion. In order to get out of that, and yeah, in order to get out of that, it's really simple. It's about eating in a rhythm. I recommend if you're at starting point one, day one of this, 3 times a day, one snack, if you're a woman, at fairly regular times can do wonders for you. If you're somebody who's like kind of a snacker and a grazer or sporadic, this is really helpful too if you're constipation prone, because it will train your gut to like move at certain times. There's this certain function of the gut called the migrating motor complex. And that is something amazing. Like our bodies are amazing. It is basically this sweep. It's a sweep, like literally think of sweepers sweeping through our digestion, through our intestines in between meals to make sure things are pushed along out of our small intestine, so that digestion runs smoothly. But it only will do that. The migrating motor complex will only work if there's no food coming in. So if you're snacking all day, you don't have any time to do that. Your body's wise, like your body is like a feedback loop. What you give it, it will respond to, which is exciting again, because when you change the input, you will get different results. Our bodies, they given half a chance. This is a quote by Joshua Rosenthal, who started IAN, that health coaching certification school. It's like, given half a chance, the body will heal itself by itself. And it's so true. No matter how deep in this you feel, when you get the right inputs and take some of that stuff away that's not working, your body will rebalance. Last thing is, so we cover random eating, is your actual like digestive power, like how your body's breaking down your food something I never ever thought about. Definitely never was brought up in a doctor's office. And I'll explain why my theory is in it after this. But basically, if we don't have enough enzymes or stomach acid to break our food down, then from the get-go, from our mouth to our stomach, from our food leaving our stomach, we're set up for terrible digestion and bloating because we haven't broken our food down right. And how I got put onto this one was that practitioner who like shone a light on these things. She goes, well, Noelle, you weren't eating for years. So your body's not going to not keep producing all these enzymes and things. And it's kind of like that feedback loop I'm talking about. So same if you've been like dieting or you've been under extreme stress, that can downregulate your body's natural production of things that you really shouldn't or wouldn't think about, like stomach acid or enzymes. And you can think of it like when you don't have enough of that, it's like running the washing machine with a full load of clothes and putting in like a fourth of how much detergent you would need and like wondering why it's dirty and why you're bloated. It's like, oh, you don't have enough power. But why this is, and this can be a game changer, especially like from day one. If you're starting and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to debloat, just giving your body, your gut some support in breaking down foods can be a game changer on getting things up and running again. But here's the thing. If you're like, oh my gosh, you want to run out and buy enzymes and HCl, great, great. I link my favorite ones. They'll be linked in, if you're watching this in the IT list, you'll see those. If you're in Gut Rehab protocol, you'll see them there. As you want to remember that if you're dealing with chronic bloating and you're listening to this whole thing, you want to see supplements as like part of a system so that you like put the right amount, you don't put too much pressure on them to solve all the issues. And that's where I think supplements get a bad rap is I'm a big believer in supplements. They're there to support us. But I think what happens, that was me, when we don't know like the whole system and we're just trying to feel better, we'll look to a supplement that has really good marketing and go, that's going to unbloat me. And then it may kind of work, but it's not solving the full problem. And that's because it wasn't supposed to. So use them as a part of this whole system, right? But getting on a digestive enzyme and betaine HCl can be a game changer, like on that very meal that you eat in terms of how you feel. Huge. So we covered the 7 blind spots. Take a minute and go like, wow, like, is any of that new to you? Heard of these before? It's a good, you can always come back to this and just go, okay. I think when we highlight things we haven't seen before, it can give us a new sense of hope of like, oh yeah, I really haven't tried everything. Victoria, do you know how we're doing on time? Like on how long?
We're
It's
at
been
45
40.
minutes.
Perfect. So I did want to mention, you might be asking like, why wouldn't a doctor bring up like enzymes and HCl? This was big for me. I'm a very curious person. And if you're watching this, you're probably very curious about yourself. I think that's a big plus if you're trying to heal, is be curious about yourself. I was like, wait, why would a doctor not tell me about this? And my theory is that having known multiple doctors and seeing even their process through med school, their training, and I'm talking about traditional doctors, not naturopathic doctors or functional medicine trained doctors, is that they're mainly trained to look at symptoms like your bloating, your constipation, match it to a diagnosis. Oh, this looks like IBS. Okay, IBS, what do we do for IBS? And the recommendations there, and that's typically either a lifestyle thing that they could easily recommend or to a pill that they can prescribe. And I'm saying this neutrally, right? But if there's what I notice, when there's not a pill or there's not something that they can prescribe, um, then it's kind of like they don't have time, they haven't been trained in it. And so it doesn't come up. You go to a functional medicine practitioner, a functional nutritionist, or a naturopathic doctor, and it's like one of the first things they ask, or one of the first things they put you on. And it's because of the difference in training. The training is simply different. But I, for a long time, like put doctors on a pedestal. A pedestal. I don't want anybody on a pedestal. I don't want to be on a pedestal. I don't think anybody really belongs on a pedestal. But I put them on a pedestal because I'm like, they know all the answers about my body. And I think they're lifesavers. They're lifesavers. But when it comes to chronic issues, you want to resolve them, you have to be in the driver's seat. You have to be knowing in your heart that, like, yes, they're a wonderful resource. Get diagnosed, you break your arm, go to the doctor, you need medication, do that. But you are going to be the one to heal yourself. This mindset shift was everything for me. Okay, so moving on. We're going to get deep at some point. I'm going to go there. All right, so the case study. I want to just try to move through as fast as I can without missing anything. But if you made it to this point, let's talk about this case study. So I'm thinking, Victoria, do you know if I share my screen, if it will show on Zoom
Your
or something?
note,
Hmm?
your notes.
No, if I show Instagram and I pull up the before and after of this client I'm
Oh,
talking
you should be able to, but make
about.
sure it's pulled up before you share your screen.
You're right. So the client, the woman that's coming to mind, is actually somebody, I'll keep it simple. You can look there afterwards. I just want people to get distracted. So we're just gonna call her R. And I have a before and after of her on my Instagram. You could find that later. And she was in a super similar boat that I was in, that you might be in. She came to me going, okay, I've been diagnosed with IBS-C. I have been struggling with these gut issues, like really bad, and the bloating for like 2 years. But she's always kind of had stomach issues. Like you always kind of struggle with your gut, but it's really been bad. And I think what that typically means is, like, mentally, it's really starting to affect my life. IBS-C and bloated all the time. Her weight was actually getting affected, where she felt like, actually, this doesn't make sense. Like, I can't lose weight. She was on a prescription laxative. And I think the biggest thing was, she goes like, oh, well, I eat pretty healthy. I work out a lot. And truth be told, I struggled with my relationship to food for years. And I feel like I made so much progress. And now this is happening. And I feel like my food relationship is going backwards, because now I'm scared around what I'm eating, because I'm always bloated and my body image getting all messed up. And I just got married. And like, all these wonderful things are happening in my life, but I feel like held back because I feel like crap. And I feel like I'm doing everything and nothing's working. That's her. And so what we did together, basically, I guided her through what I keep alluding to, this this gut rehab process. And really, all that is, it's this 7-step process that we use to get your digestion up and running again. Help you, first in the beginning, just eat a diet that's easy to digest, and then finally unlock what foods work for you. And at the same time, again, because we're a system, restore your gut health, so that long term, you're not just deep bloating right now, but you've rehabbed your gut and you feel good again. You're not doing this bloating. So that's what we did together. But the first thing I did was before even our first call, I said, I want you to keep a food symptom log for me for 1 week. Why? No macros, no calories. Because I want you I want you to get in the habit of getting in tune with like what you're eating, exactly what symptoms you're having, and your patterns, and just like do that for a week for me. Can you do that? She's like, I will do anything. I'm down. I told her to record her bowel movements and all of that. For me, I also wanted to be able to see like, what are your eating patterns like? What foods are you eating a lot of? What are your symptoms? Like, when do you get bloated? This is the typical practice of somebody who is in the functional space, functional nutritionist, functional medicine practitioner. And you see how individual it is. We're really looking at not just like, are you eating bad foods or not? Or are you eating this? It's what is your body saying when you're eating these things? Okay, cool. She does that first call. And what do we see? So first of all, I shine a light in the fact that, hey, the digestive issues you're dealing with right now, the bloating, it's not all happening because of what you're eating this very day, but you have this history of she was eating very low calorie, which will slow down your system. If you're eating 1,200 calories a day and you need more, your motility, your body will downregulate. That was aha for her. She's like, oh, that does make sense. She would exercise a lot. On top of that, kind of stressing out her body more. And then, what she was eating now and kind of over the past year was she would go through these phases of like, I'm eating really healthy. Like I'm having granola or something in the morning. I can't remember what she was having for breakfast, but granola and fruit and all that. And then every day she was eating like Brussels sprouts and broccoli, and there'd be a salad. There'd be a lot of veggies and protein. And then she'd have some periods of time where she'd disclose to me, goes, and then I'd be like, this isn't working. I still feel bloated. I'm gonna just have like gonna drink wine for like a week, with my husband, and like every night, whatever. Or I think that was a vacation, but still, it was like that mindset of not in a toxic way, but like in a way that it's like you're just so frustrated, you kind of eat whatever. And then she would eat really healthy again. So I saw what she was eating and I went, hey, you're actually eating pretty healthy, but it looks like you're eating foods that are really rough to digest when you're really, really bloated. And you're getting bloated and gas and you can't go to the bathroom. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out those veggies you're eating almost entirely. And instead, you're going to eat easy to digest carbs with your meals. And she's going, but I'm trying to lose weight too. So this doesn't sound good. But listen, if you're bloated, you're not going number two. If you're not going and you're holding on to weight, in order to lose the weight, you got to get your gut going again and you need to get moving. And she trusted the process. And that was the first thing we did. So we had her cut out those veggies so she wouldn't get bloated and they weren't fermenting and slowing things down. And then we got her on enzymes, we got her on HCl, and we got her on magnesium, helping us get moving. And we kept her food symptom journaling so that she would stay connected with herself. And when we met for our follow-up calls, we got to really look at the patterns and make little tweaks and that. But that was the first step. And that first week, she was telling me, Noelle, I'm feeling less bloated. I haven't felt this way in months. Nothing magical happened. But you see how we didn't go searching on week one. What is the one food that could be doing this? We weren't playing detective, really. We were just going, what does good digestion need? Let's remove this because that's getting in the way. Here's what we're going to replace it with. Don't think about it too much. Just do it. Like, don't stress over it. Follow the plan. And there was other things there too. Like we made sure the meal timing was there. We organized all of that. All of that's in the gut rehab protocol. These are things, those 7 things that I mentioned. When you're doing this yourself, you're working with a practitioner, you want them all to be in alignment. But we had her on a plan that was like checking all those boxes. in a really streamlined way so that she didn't have to think about it week to week, really. When I say not think about it, she wasn't like second guessing herself. Should I eat this? Should I not eat this? And that gets in the way of progress. But then on our check-ins, we make our little tweaks. So yeah, in her case, healthy girly, working out, super bloated, on laxatives, couldn't go. The diet change, week 1, giving her digestive support and giving her bowel support, got things going the right direction. That was just week 1. And then we continued. By the end of us working together, she's off prescription laxatives entirely, going to the bathroom on her own, not bloated. You can go see her after photo. And I think one of the best things is she was feeling throughout this process, because it wasn't like I'm just going to remove this one food. It was a process of rehabbing her system back to health. She revealed the removal and reintroduction of certain foods. Oh, what foods really make her feel really good, light, and just good, and which ones were triggering her. So she came out just like knowing her body really on a level she'd never before. And her food relationship, she wrote this in like a text she sent to me, and it just almost made me cry because I feel like so many women struggle with this, but it's like, I feel like I can't be stressed about food anymore because I get it. I know it works for me and I'm seeing the result and I feel good. I don't have to starve. And it's not about cutting out carbs. It's just like supporting my body's natural process. So that was that's just one example. But I wanted to bring her up because I feel like that's a lot of women I work with. You're not eating McDonald's every day. You're eating really healthy. Actually, you're trying really hard and you're still feeling bloated. Not that difficult. It's just about having the right steps in place. And sometimes guidance is really, really helpful if you can do that. So then wrapping all of this up, the big, big, big takeaway when it comes to bloating and fixing it that I think I'm trying to convey is like, it's not really one thing that's causing it. And being on a quest to find that one thing through a food sensitivity test or this lab or that lab, or I'm gonna have this one supplement or remove this one food, that can kind of keep you in a hamster wheel of feeling like you're always trying to figure out your gut and maybe having some breakthroughs, but then feeling like you're back at square one again. And it could just feel like this. And especially if you're someone like me, honestly, I don't want to speak for you, Victoria. Victoria's on the call, but like, I think it's a wonderful quality. Like you are taking ownership of your life and your health. And like, I will figure this out. um, I think those personality types can, in a way, sometimes fall in that loop of, I'm going to figure this out. And then we find ourselves 3 years down the line and like, I have done everything, but like you've just tried all these random things and there's been like no system and you're more stressed and bloated than ever. So the takeaway being it's fixing chronic bloating. You want to be thinking of it as getting your digestion back to its natural state, finding what foods and what pattern and way of eating that works for your body. That's different than just eating healthy. You're probably already doing that. What's healthy for you? And then one step deeper is, are you putting yourself first and just living in a way that allows you to take care of yourself? That, I think, naturally emerges as you heal your gut, but just something to keep in mind. So starting point from here, if you're like, okay, this was what you needed, where do we get started? So I wrote down here the 3 S's. If you're like, I want to start right the second, cool. The 3 S's of de-bloating. 1 is simplicity, 2, soft, 3, schedule. Simplicity, soft, schedule. So kind of in the case of R, you want to think about food and your supplement routine, all of it, from what are the things I need to do to how can I simplify things And diet-wise, instead of thinking of what are the foods I can't eat and that could be so sad and stressful. It's just, let me treat my gut like a baby. And how can I simplify things? I eat, leading into this third point, and eat on a schedule. Let me eat 3 times a day. Let me think of that, what foods I can't digest, and try this soft eating. Try to eat digestible. Some examples: in the morning, instead of having granola and yogurt and all the things, or a Quest bar or some kind of granola bar, have a smoothie. Instead of lunch, instead of having a salad, have some protein and some rice. Just one example, or like have avocado toast, have something that's softer versus something that's just like, I need to pack in all the veggies as possible. And that covers the soft piece, but I would start there. You know what? There should be a fourth one: support, digestive support, bringing in the right supplements. Slash, if you're like, I just want guidance, then those links will be here somewhere, where getting one-on-one guidance or getting a plan like the Gut Rehab protocol and doing that. Or if it's not me, someone else, look for somebody who's in the functional space, who sees your ability to heal and it's going to give you a plan there. Bloating, as frustrating as it is, I think, yeah, but bloating can be very frustrating. And know that your body's not against you. Your body's not betraying you. It's just a symptom. And whether you've been dealing with it for 3 weeks or 3 decades, when it gets what it needs, it will response. I hope this was so helpful for you, and I will see you in the next video.